I am a stand-up comedian, and when people ask me why I wanted to do comedy, one of the major reasons that I state is that I never want to do a PowerPoint presentation in my life. And so with your permission, if I may, I will not be using a PowerPoint presentation today, or as of course they use it in the corporate world, they call it going commando. So I will be going commando, if you will. Did they cut out my mic when I said that? Were they like, hey, isko band karo, band karo. But you know, Off the Beaten Path is the title of the talk tonight, and there is the very famous Robert Frost poem, which is two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And I'd like to say that the path that I took was unconventional to do what I do, but the truth is, I don't know the other path. I don't know what lies on that other side. I started my career, if you will, working for a production company, and I'm not going to mention any names, but and it was quite a soul-sucking experience. I mean, there were dementors who made me feel happier. And then, luckily in 2009, the recession hit. So I lost my job, and for a year I was still in the US at this point. I had finished my undergrad studies in the US, and I finished. So I lost my job, and then I still wanted to hang around, because who doesn't want to hang around in the US? So I had my OPT still going. By the way, all you engineers, check this out: OPT, CPT, and all these things you'll need to learn. And so I had my OPT still going, and so I was, really using my college degree by bartending, doing manicures and pedicures, and babysitting, which luckily are jobs that pay money. And finally I came back. I had a minor accident, if you will. I fell down and broke my foot, and I had no medical insurance, and a bill of $18,000 was handed to me. So I was like, I will have to run away. I have no choice. And so I came back to India. And when I came back to India, I was, of course, very heavily into a regime of doing nothing and drinking Horlicks. And finally, I heard about these open mics that were going on in the city. And open mics are basically these places where upcoming comedians go to try out jokes. So there is a lot of garbage that goes up there. Like a lot of really, really awful stuff. And so, of course, mine was, I contributed my 2 minutes of awful stuff there on a regular basis. And now, everyone talks about the non-beaten path, off the beaten track. And everyone talks about successes. Everyone talks about how it was so amazing. And I mean, I would like to, of course, tell you, oh my God, I'm one of the top 10 comedians in India, according to Times of India. Or the top 10 comedians to watch out in 2014, according to CNN, IBN. Or like my solo special was considered like one of the top 25 cultural experiences of 2014 by the LA Weekly. Or like the Comedy Bureau in London declared that the documentary film that I was in, Stand Up Planet, was one of the top 100 things to happen in comedy in 2015. But I'm not going to say that. Failure is one of the least spoken about things. So I figured I would share with you the 3 mistakes of my life. And so it began with an amazing, I had been doing stand-up for about 6 months at this point, and I was nailing it. I was amazing. I was every day. I mean, by that time, I had started making money for stand-up. And by making money, I mean, when we used to perform at a club, they would give us free garlic bread. Thank you, some garlic bread lovers over there. But no, so Comedy Store opens a branch in Bombay. And so I go in for the auditions, and I'm all like, yeah! Again, nail the audition, come out super confident. And Don Ward is there. Don Ward is the founder of the original Comedy Store in London. And I'm like, arey, apna to London ka ticket cut gaya. I'll be there tomorrow morning. So he calls me in the night and he says, listen, we have a show for the young, I'm not going to say the name, the Young Overachievers organization. Let's just put it that way. We have a party for them, and so would you be interested in trying out some comedy there? And I was like, yeah. So before I go on stage, there is Prasun Joshi. Do we know Prasun Joshi? Yeah, the pariyon ki mooton ki pariyon ki, some like just balgam, just. How do you follow up that? And I mean, at this point, I like to think now that my comedy has evolved. But at that point, I had this like solid set of jokes on how my father is a Punjabi and how he can't pronounce bears, so he calls it beers. And that's why Goldilocks had to go dressed on the bed because she had had 3 beers. So I like, just on stage. And comics do this all the time, right? They'll be like, hey, what's your name, right? Hey, tell me some, and then they'll make a joke about you. Feeling super confident. So I walked up to the guy right in front and I was like, hey man, what's your name? And he just looked at me straight in the face. And like a much older gentleman, he just looks at me straight in the face. He goes, tere ko kya? I was like, tell me your name. So he's like, joke bolna. My brain moonwalked off stage. I can't remember the rest of that gig, to be very honest. And that was one of the times. So after that, Don Ward didn't call me for a year. He didn't call me for a year, but the good thing that came out of it was I hit the open mics with a vengeance. Then I was trying out new kinds of material, and I came back hopefully a year later in a much better position. The second mistake I made was, this was about 2 years ago when I was really interested in getting into Bollywood. And so I was doing the Bollywood thing. I was eating half a boiled egg a day. And 1 hour of some yoga and 2 hours of power or something else. And then I get a call from this production house that had recently made a very interesting indie film. And it was a mainstream production house that it was this film called Shore in the City with Sendil. And I really liked the film actually. And so when they called me, the casting director said, our director has seen you. And he thinks you're perfect for this role. So we don't even need you to give an audition. Just come on in for the screen test. I was like, this is it. This is the beginning of my career. I will be the next Johnny Lever. So I get out there. I go in for my audition. And the first thing the casting director looks at me and goes, did you get something else to wear? And I was wearing a black shirt and black trousers. I was like, tabula rasa. I will be any character. And so he's like, did you get something else to wear? So I said, no, actually, this is it. And he's like, okay, fine. Here's this. Your characters, we're gonna screen test you for 3 characters, okay? This is for a movie which I'm just gonna give you the alphabets of, KKHH. I hope none of y'all know what this movie is. The characters were Sexy Bai, Sexy Bhaji Wali, and Slutty Punjabi Auntie. And the script was something like, "ए साहब, टाइम हो गया है, आपने मेरे कद्दू को छुआ नहीं." To which he responds with, "नहीं नहीं, सकू बाई, मुझे लगा तुम बाद में आने वाली थी." And she says, "साहब, मैं what? लौकी से इतना दूर कैसे रह सकती हूँ?" And I was reading this script, and I almost had tears in my eyes because I was so humiliated. I was like, first of all, far from representing myself like this, I have never represented my comedy like this. How dare, I almost walked up to the casting director and I was like, how dare you insult me? Do you think I will even audition for something like this? And so I auditioned for it. And there is, yes, a tape out there of me going, "लेकिन साहब, time हो गया है, आप मेरा कद्दू पकड़ने नहीं आए. That I would like to declare the second mistake of my life. And the third mistake happened very recently during the the France attacks. I was invited on a show, on a television show, on a television channel, a news television channel, to debate about the freedom of speech. Now, first of all, debating freedom of speech is like irony and meta at the same time. You cannot be talking about what you can talk about and then interrupting me 40 times while I'm trying to say it. But it was amazing. It was amazing. So we were on this panel, and there were about 97 of us. The few good things about it was I was looking amazing. I'd really dressed well. The bad thing about it was I did not know the camera was on me the whole time. So there's just extended shots of me with my head like that. Just like that. This was happening on the 8 o'clock news, which my parents were watching. And while he was throwing out these questions at us, because I had gone in with I was like, yeah, point of view. And when I walked in, he was throwing out these questions at us. And it scared the hell out of me, because I realized everybody was talking about something completely different. Nobody was even talking. There was one woman who had lost it about Taliban cutting off hands. Another guy was like, no, but India has a great culture of forbearance. Another guy, I was very quiet. I'm never quiet, and I was very quiet that whole debate. And so and it scared me again that this is what formulates the public opinion in our country. I don't feel so ashamed of my dick jokes anymore. Thank you. But no, I think the importance of comedy in general in a society. People say oh, you're a comedian, why are you being so serious? What's wrong with you? I think comedy, and we have a term for it in our culture, meethi churi, the sweet knife. It cuts extremely deep, but you don't even realize you're being cut. It's mosquitoes, right? When mosquitoes bite you, they inject in their saliva, there is an agent that dulls so you don't realize while they're sucking your blood that they're sucking your blood. But once they go, suddenly you're like, ah. That's what comedy is the sting comes, it swells up, and by the time you finished laughing, you don't realize it's itching. And I think dissent, which is also a very, very strong which is one of the purposes of comedy. And I'm a huge fan of the stuff you do, because it reaches out on a textual level. We can only perform for 300 and 500 people at a time. But what Pagal Patrakar does is absolutely incredible, because it sows the seeds of dissent. And dissent is one of the cornerstones of democracy. There is no democracy where everyone agrees with each other. And that's why I think, there has been the debate of the freedom of speech, what you're allowed to say, what you're not allowed to say. And my personal view on that is say anything. Say everything, because that's the only way you will find out you're not allowed to say it. Personally, what is satisfying and what is dissatisfying about comedy, I'll tell you. What is the most satisfying thing? It is instant feedback. If they like your joke, they will laugh. If they don't, they are quiet. You know immediately if it's working or not. Your ultimate boss is the audience. You are not dependent on sleazy producers. You are not dependent on weird venue owners. You are not dependent on anyone except these people in front. If they like you, you will get work. The most dissatisfying thing about comedy is the three-day news cycle these days. Today it's hilarious that Kiran Bedi, what's her name, yaar? Kiran Kher nahi, yaar. Kiran Bedi is doing a U-turn. It's hilarious that she is, now joined BJP. Oh no, what happened, Ms. Bedi? 3 days later, if we find out that, Shashi Tharoor has indeed murdered his wife, these jokes are not going to be relevant at all. the speed at which you have to produce in this current day and age when it comes to comedy. You have to be funny on Twitter, you have to make funny videos, you have to be funny live, and it's exhausting. It is exhausting because you go there, you know, you're standing at a party, any regular party, just want to have a drink because you just finished work and it was and you just want to like, and there'll be that guy who'll come up to you and be like, hey, you're a comedian or? Tell joke, na? Tell joke. This is like, you know, go like meet a porn star, like at a party and being like, hey, you're a porn star? What does this feel like? Just And the last thing I'd like to talk to you about was the fact that, you know, we're at that age, I think, where everyone's parents have, everyone's schoolmates and friends are posting baby pics on Facebook. And I have to admit, I'm not fully convinced of the idea yet. I think having a child is the ultimate act of vanity. I think you're like, oh my God, it looks just like me. Like, I can transfer all my issues onto this kid. Like this morning, I'm sorry, but like this morning, my flight is delayed by like 18 hours. And we're standing in line, there's like, again, 2 bathrooms and 50 women standing outside. And then this one woman walks in with a baby. She's like, can she go? Can she? She wants to go very badly. I said, हम तो time pass के लिए खड़े हैं यहाँ पे. Sorry, she'll just go. I was like, lady, who is it more acceptable to, to walk around with pee in their pants? But it's as a species, it's self-preservation. It's the need to propagate yourself. And I think storytelling, or what I think I do through comedy, is just that. It's a self-preservation instinct. It's when, you know, sometimes when I've been living alone, I just moved out of my parents' house, and I've been living alone recently. And I've changed my alarm clock song to Kiss from a Rose by Seal, which I think is an amazing song. And so whenever I hear it in public, I get really excited. I'm like, oh my God, that's my alarm clock song. But nobody else knows this. Nobody else knows that I wake up to that song every morning. And for some reason, it's important to me to preserve or to perpetuate what I think and what I stand for into something, anything out there. I need people to know I listen to There Used to Be a Graying Tower. Like, I need people to know this. And that's what storytelling is. That's what just getting your story out there is. And we are living in a land of upworthy and down upworthy and pata nahi ye and pata nahi wo, and inspiration is hitting us in the face like every day, twice a day. There are, how many? 44,000 TED Talks, ideas that inspire. But what's your story? Because that's someone else's story. That's what other people are saying. I think storytelling is what comes from here. And that's what my comedy is to me. And that's why I think I have been walking off the beaten path. Thank you.